Hey, great thinkers. Welcome back to another edition of the Think Great Experience. I'm beyond excited today because we have Luke Shimp, president of Double Black Diamond, with us. And many of you may know the restaurants he owns: Red Cow, most awesome burgers out there, and Red Rabbit, absolutely phenomenal Italian food. Just two of my all-time favorite restaurants. And in addition to that, Luke is a visionary. I know he's got another concept he's working on, so we may hear a little bit about that today. He is also a mentor to me, somebody that I share ideas with. In fact, he was one of the first people that I shared the idea about my foundation to award scholarships to military spouses with. And he's also become a friend over the years. I've had the privilege of working with him and his leaders over the last 5 years, and it's just been a phenomenal experience. And so, Luke, I just want to say welcome to the Think Great Experience. Great to finally have you here.
Well, thanks, Eric. It's been, I know we've talked about it for a long time and trying to fit it into each other's schedules. And I'm just so happy that it's working out today.
Yeah, it's awesome. And I know you have so many amazing things to share. And one of the things I love about you the most is your mindset, just how you get laser focused. And I got to start off with just saying, 2 years into the pandemic, owning restaurants, can you tell us what it was been like through these past 2 years as the news started to unfold? How did you handle all of the challenges that came your way with this? Because restaurants were hit maybe up there as some of the hardest hit businesses in the country.
Yeah, I think definitely our industry probably was the hardest hit, if not one of the hardest hit in the country. It's actually kind of funny in my mind when I think back about it. The pandemic was starting to gain some momentum throughout the world, and it seemed like something was going to happen. And I happened to be in Colorado skiing for the weekend, and my wife and I were talking, and you could see things were happening throughout the country. And then as the word started to spread more and the media started to talk about it more, I think I went out there on a Wednesday, and then Thursday, fine. Then all of a sudden Friday, our sales kind of started to drop off about 25%. And then come Saturday, they dropped off 50%. And then Saturday night, I'm talking to my wife, and she was, "You're coming home, aren't you?" And I'm like, I wasn't planning on coming home till I think the following Wednesday. I was going to be out there a week, and she's like, "You're coming home, aren't you?" And then Saturday night they fell off that 50%. I talked to her on Sunday. She says, "What time's your flight?" And so
Yes, I'm coming home.
I knew I had to come home, and it wasn't. I don't think I took it quite as. I didn't think it was going to have that much of an impact. You know what I mean? I felt like it was just going to come and go really quick, and I'm like, "Oh, this will just be fast." And so I flew home. And then obviously on Tuesday, I think it was March 16th, the governor of Minnesota announced that we were going to go into a full-on shutdown. And so I reverted back to one of the very simple but impactful phrases that you taught me years ago when we first started working together and coaching together, which was improvise, adapt, overcome, right? Yeah. So we had to improvise immediately, and then we had to adapt, and we had to overcome that challenge. And for us that day was, okay, we looked at it and said, all right, we are going to be shut down for a number of weeks. What do we do? We're going to go only, which is not what our concepts were designed to do. We were a full service sit down, you come to our place, we enjoy, we provide an experience. So our first step was, candidly, we had to furlough 400 people. So we started writing down all the things that we needed to do to survive. Of course, right away you go and you start looking at your checkbook balance, say, okay, how long can we survive, and how is this going to affect us, and blah, blah, blah. So you start through these different methods, and we furloughed 400 people. We shuttered 2 of our 6 locations, redeployed all of our assets amongst all the salaried leaders amongst those 4 locations. And then every day we just did exactly what that phrase says. We had to improvise, we adapted, and we overcame. Yeah. Just accepted the challenges, and then figured out a new plan for sometimes that day. We met every night for the first 3 weeks. The executive team would get together every night after service. So of course we converted to go, right? To go business. And that wasn't us. So, naturally we had some challenges to overcome, and every day we would meet and just talk. And then the next morning we'd have a new plan and a new strategy of how we were going to succeed each day. And I think, I really a testament to our teams for their ability to take those enhancements that we would make every single night and deploy them in the morning, and everyone would adjust their workflows. And I think over the long haul of this, we've come out obviously a better organization. Our
Sure.
teams learned to take those curveballs and adjust. And much like a hitter at bat, when the curveball's coming, they've got to adjust their swing. We had to
That's
adjust
right.
our swing. And in the end, we're more nimble. We've experienced something that you would have never dreamt that we could experience. We've come out the other side of it a better organization. I think the industry's come outside on the other side of this a better
Yeah.
industry. So all in all, it's been tough and challenging, but also a lot of rewards along the way.
I can't imagine what that day was like when you had to furlough 400 people. I mean, from my experience working with you, I know how much passion you have for your team. So that had to have been one of the toughest days you've ever experienced.
Yeah, I think it was, I think going into it, we kind of knew Monday that what was going to happen on Tuesday. So it was already something we were thinking about, but definitely a very difficult day because when when you employ people, and I share a lot of times, people say, why do you do what you do? And for me, a big chunk of it is to provide jobs and growth and opportunity for people. And I love to employ people. I think that that's one of the greatest joys
Yeah.
that I get is to have all these wonderful team members and see what they can do in their lives and how them working with us impacts their life. And so to have to take that lifeline away from them or their revenue stream away from them, it was really, really difficult, very emotional, very taxing mentally. But there again, as a great leader, we sometimes have to do things that we don't want to do, and I didn't want to do that, but for the greater good of the company, that's what we had to do that day.
Yeah. And I know you consider your company to be a leadership development company. Leadership for you is incredibly huge. And how important was leadership for you during this past 2 years and for your team?
Well, like any great challenge, we all fall back on leadership, and if you don't have it, you can see industries or organizations kind of crumble or fumble the ball as they're trying to move forward. I think it was the key catalyst to us being able to succeed every day, and to our teams, having very little fallout throughout the last couple of
Yeah.
years. We've had a ton of retention. We've actually had people join our team just because I think they heard how great our leadership is and what a focus that we put on it. To me, leadership always is the answer. That's the one answer when we're having trouble. Whenever I analyze one of our companies and I look at if we're having any type of trouble, it always, always, always comes back to leadership.
It does. And I think that just having that open communication is important. I know you are meeting as leaders every day. Communicating with the team is so critical. I mean, we would speak sometimes and we would listen out here in Minnesota, the weekly message from the governor, and it never seemed to go in your favor for for a long time. And then you have to communicate a message to your people, and sometimes the message isn't the best. But how critical was it to just stay focused on communicating a message to your people? I mean, they must have been looking at you for answers for all of this.
Yeah, I mean, communication's key, right? Whenever you have challenges, you have to actually up your communication, and that's something that I think did very well as we upped it. And we received feedback from our teams that they even wanted more. We were
Yeah.
hosting weekly Zooms, and they wanted more than that. They wanted to talk more often. They wanted information disseminated to them more often. Even oftentimes they wanted information that we didn't have. They would be like, okay, we know the governor's speaking for, what's he going to say? I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I've got it, we've got our different sources that would leak information
Yeah.
to as much as they could, or were allowed to leak it out. And, so we would share that as quickly as we could, but, communication's key, like anything
Yeah.
like this, you have to have your plan and your vision, and then you have to have communication, and then you roll into execution and accountability.
Well, and I know that having your restaurants in the Twin Cities area didn't make it easier from the standpoint that the mandates hit harder there than in the surrounding areas.
Yeah, being in the core urban zone, I mean, we're all in Minneapolis and St. Paul proper, all 6 restaurants, and then we have the one outpost at the airport, which was hit awfully hard too. We were in those, we were right in the nucleus of mandate zones. You definitely got outside of the city some, and it seemed like oftentimes you could go outside the belt line and wouldn't even have known that COVID was happening, and all the different protocols that were in place in the core urban zone. But that, there again, that's just another challenge that we had to adapt and overcome. And I couldn't just pick up a building and move it to Prairie, or Prior Lake, right? I couldn't just do that. So we just have to adapt and overcome it, and we're still fronting some of those challenges. The suburban markets definitely are thriving more than the urban markets, and so our team members are having to overcome that, and we're having to talk about that regularly, and know that we're kind of behind the curve a little bit compared to some of our other restaurant friends in the suburban market. But that's something that we own, and we just have to overcome that.
Well, if you ever do open a restaurant in Prior Lake, I'll be there all the time, and I'll drive a lot of traffic for it.
I feel like you'll be there cutting the ribbon with me.
I will be there. I will be there for sure. And I have the outfit. I do have the chef outfit from Red Cow and Red Rabbit. So I got to ask you this. I know that you are not only a huge racing fan, but you are in the industry. And one of your greatest moments was winning the 2000 NASCAR championship. And I know that in your current line of work in the restaurant industry, you have borrowed a lot of techniques you learned in NASCAR. What was it like being part of that championship team, and how have you applied some racing tactics to the restaurant industry?
Yeah, it's funny how there's a lot of correlation between the two industries. And I've only had the pleasure of working in two industries. I've worked in auto racing and I've worked in restaurants, right? So I haven't had a lot of other experience in other areas. But for us, it's very detail oriented. It's very checklist oriented. And it's very competition oriented, right? We're competing, in NASCAR, you competed with, at that time, there were 43 teams each weekend. That's how many cars were allowed to race on a weekend. And we race 37 weeks a year. So you're, 37 times you're competing against those 43 teams. And here I always tell our teams, we have a race every week. So we have 52 races that we're up against. And, we're competing against all these other restaurants, not only the ones right in our segment, whether they're serving pizza and pasta or they're serving burgers, but then there's just the greater dining dollar. We're competing all the time. So there's a strong sense of competition. And, we're always striving. I think we talk about defining your win, so we have our wins and we're always striving to win. And one of our core values is we want to win. And so we're always looking at what is that win, and the win today might be different than it is tomorrow. And then you wrap it up over your strategies over the course of a quarter, and those are wins too. So we're always looking for that win.
Well, and the teamwork component in NASCAR was huge, and I think that one of the things that you've done an amazing job at is bringing the team side of things into the restaurant industry. I think everybody gives teamwork a lot of lip service. As a business coach, no matter who I talk to, everybody says teamwork is so important, but very few people know how to pull it off. And one of your other core values is team first. So what did you learn from NASCAR from a team standpoint? Because as you watch pit crews, you see how fast they operate. I mean, that's cohesion at a whole different level. But for you, what does teamwork mean to you?
Yeah. So, so obviously we're only as good as the people we surround ourselves with. And same way in NASCAR, when Coach Gibbs put together the team, he started the team in 1992, hadn't won a championship. I was hired for the 99, 2000, 2001 seasons. And, he kind of went out and handpicked a group of individuals to help win the championship. And evidently he'd identified some deficiencies, brought in some new guys. And we basically almost won it in 99. We did win it in 2000, and then had a semi-successful season in 2001. Not as good as we could have. I think candidly, I think we got a little complacent, maybe. And then I left the sport at the end of 01. But I learned, that everybody in NASCAR had a job. You had a role, and you didn't cross over. You kind of stayed in your section. And I think that in restaurant touring, it's very similar in the kitchens and in other areas. Other than in the front of house, we have what we call lateral service, and in the back house, they help each other out. But you still have set set
Yeah.
roles and set duties that you have to do and fulfill, that you can't just leave for chance and let somebody else kind of do it. And racing was the same way, much like aviation. It was very, very
Yeah.
delineated of this is what you do, and if you did it and you were the best at it, you could be very successful.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of parallels between the aviation world, which I came from in the Marines, and then NASCAR, and just seeing people perform those duties at the highest levels. That was the thing that shocked me when I got out of the military, specifically out of aviation. My first job was Kmart. So it was not necessarily a cohesive team. And I started to realize that when you come from that cohesion, when you come from that synergy, and then you're not in it, you can really feel it. I mean, it makes an impact on you when you're missing it.
It does. I think you've talked about that too, about being in the service, and everybody, they took an oath, so there's a little bit of a higher level of commitment. And I
Yeah.
think in racing too, most of us, all of us wanted to be there. The folks on the higher echelon teams too, I think just had a different level of drive or expertise, and the cohesion of the team and the assemblage of the team, the different team members, and so you're able to achieve success. And so that's something that we've been trying to identify, in our company, is what does that mean? What does that look like? And then you assemble those right players to achieve that result. And so you kind of make these profiles, and you understand what the people are that you need on that team, and then you balance it out. And trying to we use strengths finders a lot for some of that information. You just make sure that you get a cohesive, well balanced,
Yeah.
well-oiled machine, and hopefully it equates to success.
Well, you can feel it when the team is on, and you can feel it when the team is off. And it's always better when they're on. We had the opportunity not too many months ago to go with your executive team and your GMs to Aspen, which was awesome. And we did a 3-day leadership retreat. And throughout the whole retreat, vision came up a lot. In fact, you started the whole event off talking about vision. You have a vision statement for your company. How important is vision to you? When did you start to realize how much of a factor that was in your life and in your business?
Well, I think vision's been something, I've always been a dreamer, and to me, dreaming is vision. I think when I was younger, I called it dreaming. If I would have been able to change the word, I could call it being a visionary. But I would say my whole life, I mean, everything I've ever done in life has started with a dream or a vision, and then from there, it's moved into a plan, and then from there, you start executing, you communicate your plan to people, and then you start executing and carrying on from there. So vision to me is the root or the start of all great things. If you don't have vision, I think it's really hard to carry out, because a plan really takes vision to know where you're going, know what you want. It doesn't mean it can't change, but I think of back in 1990 when I went to the Daytona 500 for the first time. I was not quite 16 years old yet, and I sat there and I watched everybody on pit road, and I said, I want to be here someday. And it was a dream, right? It was just something I said to myself, and I envisioned it, and I talked about it, and lo and behold, 5 years later, I was there. And it didn't happen overnight, but it was a 5-year vision. I went back to the same race in '93, and I said the same thing to myself again, but I was a little bit older and felt like maybe it was a little more accomplishable at that point. And then 2 years later, I was on a team, and made it to the Daytona 500, and I actually made it to victory lane the day, not at the Daytona 500, but in Daytona. We won one of the pre-races, so I've actually been in victory lane, which is even more of a dream. There.
That's huge. I mean, what an experience. And to be at such a young age to experience a big win, a big victory like that is probably life enhancing. I mean, forever. You'll always remember that.
Yeah, that first win when I was watching NASCAR race yesterday. IndyCar race was on first, doing some chores around the house, and then the NASCAR race came on. It was in California, not far from your home. They were in Fontana, not too far from.
Yeah.
And when they said, "Gentlemen, start your engines," the hair on my back of my neck stood up, just like it did, every single weekend there, and it still does. And it's an excitement. Like I love that.
I've seen the races at that track too. It's there's nothing like that sound of that first lap coming around.
No,
You can feel it.
Yeah, exactly.
So how did your vision shift then from NASCAR to the restaurant industry? How did you end up becoming a winner in the restaurant world?
Yeah, so growing up, I had started basically a used car company out of my dad's auto body shop, and so I was an entrepreneur from a very young age, and it was a means to an end for me. It was a means to go racing and be able to race snowmobiles and stock cars to make the money and be able to afford to do that. And so I'd gotten a taste of what it was like to make money and see how being an entrepreneur could be rewarding when I was in my teenage years. Then when I went into NASCAR, you're working for folks and you're on these great teams and the environment was really fun. But I will say towards the tail end, I was starting to get burnt out and you're working, when literally 7 days a week. I know the longest stretch I ever went was 21 weeks without ever getting a day off. And people go, oh, really? And I'm like, no, really, it was 21 weeks. Like we didn't have a day off. We started at 6 in the morning and most nights you're home, between 7 and 9 p.m., 7 days a week and the days that you're at the racetrack. So it was just this long, grueling, I was there for 7 years. It was a long, grueling time. And I was starting to get crabby. And my sister owned a couple restaurants up in Minnesota. And so my contract was up at the end of 2001. I was going to kind of retire from the sport and hopefully go become an entrepreneur. My sister talked me into coming back to Minnesota and buying into her restaurants. And from there, I knew nothing about restaurateuring other than I really enjoyed eating in them, and that was about it. But I just joined her team, and it was her and her business partner, and they had the 2 small breakfast restaurants, and we slowly grew that company up. And over a decade, we grew it from 2 restaurants to 7. And I think we grew our revenue by 10 times. And I think we 10x revenue over that period. And then I sold back to her, and then my wife and I started Red Cow. And just over time, I realized how many synergies racing and as you said, team building and the whole team atmosphere of restaurateuring has with racing and how much I really enjoyed it and how I've been able to thrive, and then there's this attention to detail, and then there's the financial aspect, there's the people aspect, and there's a marketing aspect. And I just love every bit of it. And then over time, we've just learned to assemble all the right people. So we have a wonderful team of executive team, and we've got our store level team members, and it's just been a really fun time to build these companies and grow and watch them grow.
Well, and about probably within the first year of me working with you and your team, you actually won Restaurateur of the Year, and I went to that event with you.
Yeah, I've been very fortunate to receive a number of accolades this is my 20th year owning restaurants. And in my previous group with my sister and us, we won multiple awards. And then with the Red Cow Red Rabbit group, Tracy and I have won multiple awards. And definitely, I think I've gotten 3 Restaurateur of the Year awards over the last 2 decades, and there's a long list of accolades. Being a racer, I love trophies, so I strive to win trophies and I strive to win awards, and I really push our team to win awards because it gets your name out there, but also people want to be associated with winners, and I think success breeds success. So when you have those types of awards and trophies coming towards you, it just leads to more success.
Well, you have definitely put together a team of people who look at themselves as winners, and they're striving for wins. In many respects, one of the greatest teams that I've had the privilege of working for. You can feel the cohesion, you can feel the excitement when we're together with them. You're developing them as leaders, and encouraging them to grow, encouraging them for personal and professional development, which should be more common in most workplaces. But as a coach, I found it's not. And people agree that it should happen, but they're not doing it to the level that you have. And, when I first connected with you, I'm trying to think back. I think you had 2 of the Red Cows at that point, maybe 3. And then you were just in the process of starting a new concept, Red Rabbit. Italian. What was that like for you to expand, not just in the number of restaurants, but to actually have a whole entire new concept?
Yeah, that was, there again, that was a dream. My previous group, we had an Italian restaurant and I loved it. It's also my favorite foods. I love pizza and pasta. So there's a little bit of just a sideways passion there where
Yeah.
I went and I wanted another Italian concept at some point. We were actually going to expand Red Cow to Denver, and we were really, really close to signing a lease. We've chosen the space. I mean, basically had the lease done. I just had to put ink on the paper and deploy. Basically start the deployment of assets and people to get it built. And a space came available across the street from us in the North Loop, and I talked to my wife Tracy, and I said, "Hey, I'm thinking that we should do an Italian restaurant here." And I also knew an Italian chef in town that that was available. So a lot of times everything goes back to people, and
Yeah.
and so right away I went back to Chef Todd. Chef Todd was available. I went to him and said, "Hey, I got this idea. I'd like to build a restaurant. Would you be interested in joining our team and helping us build this restaurant?" And he was. So there, it started with the vision, then it was the people,
Yeah.
and Todd and myself, and we were able to get some cohesion going, and then we just built the concept. And I think we just celebrated our 5th year in December with that concept. So we have the 2 Red Rabbits now. Both are very successful. We won some awards right out of the gate with Red Rabbit in 2017, and it's been a phenomenal run. And it's still one of my favorite restaurants. I love the Red Cows. Don't get me wrong, but I love pizza. I love pasta. I eat pizza every day.
So you've got the 2 Red Rabbits, you got 4 Red Cows, and soon to be a 5th Red Cow. So I mean, you're continuing to expand through this whole pandemic and what I call the transition phase out of it. Here you are getting ready to open another restaurant in Rochester now, so a little further south than your other ones. But what was that like to have the vision and stay on track with your plan to open that 7th location, no matter what came your way?
Yeah, I think it's always about calculated risks. I've been a risk taker my whole life. Some people say, "Oh my God, you're such a risk taker," and I truly am. But they're all calculated. And I think we actually were going to open up this Red Cow Rochester prior to the pandemic. We'd been talking to the landlord. We were working on the lease, and then as soon as the pandemic hit, we kind of iced it. And I just shared with them that I wasn't ready to make that kind of commitment during the chaos that was ensuing. And so as soon as the chaos started to feel like we were in a better spot and that we could see the other end of it, like I said, we're in kind of a transition phase getting to the other end. We re-engaged talks with the landlord, and we decided to go ahead and make the leap to open the Red Cow in Rochester. I've always believed in the space, the building that the landlord built. The apartment building is right across the street from St. Mary's Hospital. I feel like we're in the right place, the right spot, and it's also a great way for us to test an out of the urban market setting. Right, it's going to be 75 miles away, so if there are challenges, we still can get there to check on or have our influence versus if it were in Denver or Kansas City or Des Moines or some other city like that where it take us a little longer to get there. So I think this is a great kind of test bed for us to really test the waters of how can we succeed with an operation that's not right here in our backyard, and then we'll take that formula hopefully and grow it and fertilize it and take it to other markets.
I think that, that really goes back to having that vision and also developing every single one of your leaders to think and act like leaders, because it'll be a welcome challenge for them. I know you already have leaders that are stepping up, wanting to go down there, wanting to work in there. Maybe even if it's not permanently, go down to help set it up and then come back. And that just speaks volumes of teamwork. That just speaks volumes of the cohesion, the synergy you've created. But I know goal setting is huge for you. I know you're a big fan of goal setting, sharing those goals, stretching the goals. You are not going to stop at burgers and Italian. You have some other ideas, many ideas up there. Are there any other ideas that you can share with the audience on your vision for what you plan to do in the future?
Yeah, well, I think first and foremost, we have Red Cow, which is a very portable brand, which we feel confident can go to other markets. So that's a big one for us, is to be able to, have the success in Rochester and work out a few of those bugs of it being not in our backyard, and then we'll hopefully grow that in other markets. Red Rabbit, we'll probably stick with the two. There's a blessing and a curse there. They're great concepts, but they require a little bit more energy, a little bit more effort. And sometimes you don't always get the reward. So I probably will just keep those two right here in Minneapolis and St. Paul, and selfishly just keep them for me. And then we do have another concept that we're working on launching that ideally should be another concept that we could take nationwide. And we're in the beginning stages of it. I've had the vision for it for a while, and I think we're really close. We're probably about 6 to 8 weeks away from being able to announce it and show the world what we want to do. We're close to having it designed. We'll have our prototype designed here real soon, and working on the name. I think we got the name, just waiting for some trademark information to come back. Hopefully we can lock in the name, and then we'll ideally, as you said, when we're building teams and to attract team members, it's all about growth, but really it's about opportunity that people want. And so, but for me as the leader of the whole company, I have to continue to attract great talent. I have to continue to give them opportunity, and the only way to do that is to really grow the company. Otherwise, folks just could get stagnant, or there's no real reason for them to come join your team, right? You're just kind of to me, it seems like there's not enough draw. It's a very competitive industry, the hospitality industry. There's a lot of different avenues to go, a lot of different places to work, and we want it to be something more than that. So I feel like if we can be a leadership development company and we can provide a lot of opportunity for individuals through our growth vehicles, that's really the key to success for me. And it also accomplishes that one goal that I like, which is employing people, and along the way, hopefully we'll become a big company and something that just provides a lot of opportunity.
Well, I think that's the exciting part. I mean, for me, and I'm guessing, now that you have the name locked down, I know I put a name into the hat. We might use that at a later point, since that one probably didn't get selected, but that's okay. I kind of knew my name for it wouldn't win the vote. But what I love that you're doing right now is, as you grow that organization, as you grow your brand, you're constantly translating that into opportunity for the team. And I think that when I meet with your people, they know there's opportunity there. And it is interesting, because sometimes people who may be new to your company aren't used to being able to have open communication or focus on leadership development or talk about their own future. They're not used to that from other organizations. So while you provide guests with an experience, you're also providing team members with an experience, and it's showing. And to focus on a nationwide concept is absolutely just awe-inspiring. I mean, I'm excited about it. I can't wait until we can officially share it, because there's such a need for it, and a need to have more organizations that have people as their greatest asset. And that's what I love most that you're doing. Just your focus on people shows. And I know your people are so critical to you.
I mean, they're everything. I mean, I think of it like we can all go get a burger somewhere, right? We can all go get pizza, we can get pasta, we can find a beer, we can find wine. All these items are available everywhere. So the difference really is that environment, and people make up the environment. And I say it all the time: when you open that front door at a Red Cow or Red Rabbit, you often you feel something. There's a feeling, and it's a great feeling, and you can't necessarily quantify it because it's just out there in the aura. Yeah. But it's really it's the people. It's all the team members that we have, leading and acting with the Red Cow way and the Red Rabbit way in mind, and it's specifically designed to provide an experience, but not only an experience for the what we call the external guests, the folks walking through the front door, but it also is designed to provide an internal guest experience, right? All of our team members, they're our internal guests. They're and it really has to start with them, and they're first and foremost the number one most important guest in the house, is we have to make sure they're taken care of first, because if we have them in the right frame, then that just transfers over and translates into happy front of house guests that come through their front door.
I think one of the things that I've heard so many times by your guests, because I meet people who frequent Red Cow, Red Rabbit, everywhere I go. So I was up in northern Minnesota. I was up in Brainerd recently, and I was sharing about your restaurants. And one of the gals came up to me and said that she went there recently. She went to one of the Red Cows, and she said the experience she gets, she can feel it when she walks in. She can feel the energy. And I said, I got to tell that one to Luke, because that is so incredible, because you can feel it when you walk in somewhere and there's no energy. And so the fact that people can feel the energy, even during times of this chaos that we've gone through, is a huge testament to what you and your entire executive team and your store leaders are doing. You're right. You can get a burger anywhere, although you can't get the Dragon Burger anywhere.
No, that you cannot. You can only get that from us.
You cannot. And I slayed the dragon recently, and it was quite the experience. But one of the things I love most is I love the way I feel when I take my friends and family there. And it's just that culture that you've created is really impressive.
Yeah, having that, as you said, it's a feeling, and having that Red Cow way and the Red Rabbit way, just we have an acronym, right, that you've heard us talk about, and it's MALT. Music, attitude, lights, temperature. And when we have the MALT right, when people, there again, it's just another feeling piece. But if we've got the music at the right level and it has the right energy vibe, and the attitude of all the team members running around throughout the space is correct, and then the lighting is right, we've got that nice amber glow and people just look good. It's not too bright, it's not too dark. And then we have the temp right, because we are in Minnesota. You gotta have the temperature right.
You have to.
Well, half the time, then the other time it's humid, so we're always, we either got AC. So in the summertime it can't be too cold, and such. In the wintertime it can't be too cold. You gotta have it warm, and you can just tell. Tracy and I walked into Red Rabbit Wednesday night, I think it was. We went and sat in one of the spots, and just the bar looked perfect. The bar top looked great, set up right. The bartenders just had an air to them that was really inviting, and you could sense it in the warmth of the building. And when it's right, it's right. And there again, I don't know if every guest always knows what that is, but they feel it, and that feeling is something they think about when they contemplate where to go.
Yeah.
And, oh, I want to go back to Red Rabbit, or I want to go back to Red Cow because it felt great.
Well, coming from the military, I love acronyms. The first time you shared MALT, it was mind blowing. And to have that as a reference, that music, the attitude, the lights, the temperature, just to be able to get the team in that frame of mind is huge. So I'm a huge fan of that one. I don't know if I can use that in everything that I do at Think Great, but I think for our events we can use MALT for sure, right?
For sure, at events, 100%. You can get
events. We can have high level MALT events. That's what I'm
absolutely.
One of the things that I love that I feel is really synonymous with racing is fans. Your core purpose, that mission of the team is not just the guest experience alone, but to create raving fans. I love that, because I am a huge fan of great mottos or creeds or sayings or taglines. When did you come up with create raving fans? Because I think that that's brilliant.
Yeah, I think it was early on in our sessions with you. We had, I had a business plan, obviously, when I launched Red Cow, and we had, I knew where I wanted to go. We had some core values, and I believe when we were first started working together, we enhanced everything that we had and took just traditional core values of integrity and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
Words, we put them into statements where we love this, we care tons, we want to win, and team first. And then we came up with our core purpose, like, why do we do what we do, and what is it that we're doing every day? And everyone can say, be the best restaurant, be this, be that. And what we really boiled it down to, if I remember correctly, and we collaborated. There were a number of us in the room. I remember correctly, we had a whole group of leaders in the room, and we came back with, our core purpose each day is to create raving fans. Because how do we get repeat business? Through word of mouth, through fans. And so what we do every day is to create raving fans. And there again, that goes back to that internal and external guest piece too.
Yeah.
We have just as many raving fans that are on the team as we do that come through the front door. Because if our team members aren't raving fans, that's a problem.
That's right. That's right. I just love that you can go into your stores, any stores, and I will work with those leaders and I'll hear them talking about your identity, creating raving fans or we care tons, we want to win. You know that for me, you have a great team when they understand the identity. They understand who they are, not just what they do, and you have achieved that. Another thing that I know is really big for you, it's a driving force. We'll use another race car reference, but is giving back. Giving back to the community is important, and you've done a lot of that. In fact, you've helped our foundation. As I mentioned earlier, I remember having dinner at Red Rabbit North Loop, and you and I met there, and I told you, I said I have the idea, award scholarships to military spouses, and I remember you said I'm in, and you guys created a burger and donated $1 from every burger sold, and we were able to collect thousands of dollars to help out our foundation. My question to you is, why is giving back to the community so important to you and your team?
Well, we launched our giving program is called Inspired Giving with a capital RED, Inspired Giving, and a lot of it stems back to a point in my childhood where we were kind of a typical Midwestern family. I'd call us middle class. Then the crash of '82 happened and really disrupted our life and my sisters and our family's lives. And we went on food stamps, we went on heating assistance, had the hot school lunch program. I think if it weren't for Kiwanis Club in our church for a couple of years, there wouldn't have been any Christmas presents and that, those things that our parents wanted to provide for us. And so it really left a long, lasting mark that giving back is so important. And then when I went into NASCAR, it's such a charitable organization too. NASCAR and everything around NASCAR was all about charity, all about bringing underprivileged children and folks with disabilities to racing. Veterans with disabilities, they would get to races. So there's all for a great chunk of my life, I was influenced by that. Yeah. And I've always felt that when God blesses you with a lot of resources, it's your duty to give back. And so we've been blessed as people and as a company. We've had a successful organization, and so part of our duty is to give back to our community. And so we've chosen to give back in a number of ways. Sometimes we give money, sometimes we give gift cards, sometimes we give food. Sometimes our team members give time, right? And we've all participated in a number of ways. But we're super excited. I think through 2021, our Inspired Giving program, in our first 9 years of business, I think we just surpassed $750,000 worth of donations to various community organizations. And it's super exciting. It's very rewarding. I'm just grateful that we've been given the opportunity to be able to do that and give back.
Yeah. I think it's huge. I think it really defines a big part of who you are, who your organization is. And I know when I was in the Marines, they, every year they did Toys for Tots. And when I first got in, I didn't want to partake in it. I was 18 years old. I just gotten out of boot camp, and they kind of voluntold me to go work it. And I didn't want to work it. And the after effect has stayed with me my entire life. And it was just such a great feeling to give back. And they gather all the toys and they hand them out to the children, and children sometimes without family or without money. And it was very rewarding, but it got me out of my comfort zone a little bit, which is the next question I have for you is, how important is it for you to, one, step out of your comfort zone, but also encourage your team to get out of their comfort zone as you move forward?
Yeah, I mean, that's a constant, you have to constantly evolve as a leader. And I think to do that, you have to continuously be pushing yourself, out of your comfort zone. And I won't candy coat. It can be challenging at times, right? Because as we get a little older, we have a little bit more success. We maybe think, oh, if somebody else can do that, it's their job to do that, or I don't have to do that as much. And the times when I find myself personally struggling is when I am actually not pushing myself, and making myself uncomfortable, where I'm actually getting comfortable. That's probably where I find myself struggling the most, mentally or physically, and even physically, right? If I don't go to the gym, if I just kind of complacent, you start to, you start to feel it, right? And so it's so important to push our teams and push our team members. But we also have to remember we have to meet them where they're at too. We can't push them too far. So that's that balance of being a great leader, is understanding where your team members at.
Yeah.
And then just give them just a little bit of a nudge and just try to push them just a wee bit to grow and to give them that opportunity to go out there and try something, or push them into a direction that maybe they aren't extremely comfortable in, and also help course correct and encourage them, because it's going to take a lot of encouragement. They're probably not going to do it as right as they could do it, but over time they'll do that even better. So you just have to keep pushing them and give them that encouragement and course correction along the way.
It's huge. Now, one thing I'm excited about is I know one area you're stepping out of your comfort zone very quickly. In fact, you're going to be fully out of your comfort zone on March 31st, because in addition to all the things you've done before, you're going to add professional speaker to your resume.
Absolutely. And I'm scared to death.
But I'll tell you what, nobody listening to this podcast right now is ever going to guess that you'd be scared to death to speak. But of course, this time it's not going to be from your home. We're going to be on stage. We'll have 250 plus people there. What is driving you to want to get on stage and share your story and your message? What pushes you to do that?
Well, I think it comes back to that, for me personally, my purpose is to be a leadership development company. And I think for me, I need to develop more as a leader. And part of that is speaking, sharing my story, hopefully getting out there with you and partnering up and going to other companies and being able to become a coach and mentor and inspire people much the way you have. I see a lot of opportunity in the world, and I've been blessed to have been successful and seen a couple different ways to basically formulate teams, put teams together to capture the most out of a team. And I feel like if we can get up on stage and share that message, and then partner up with Think Great, we can go out there and hopefully build more leaders in this world, and we'll do it one company at a time.
I think so many people are just ripe for opportunity right now to grow. And I know you and Tracy and I got together recently. We talk about a lot of things, but we talked about your presentation, Driven to Win. We can't give away all the secrets right now, but what does that mean to you? Because I know people are going to be listening to this and then registering to come see it. But if you were to give kind of an overarching theme about Driven to Win, what is it that you want people to be able to walk away with after that presentation?
Well, goes back earlier when we talked about vision. I think, you have to have your dream, and then take that dream plus leadership, to me equals success. So you got to take the dreams and you got to couple it with leadership development, and then we can have success. And I'm with you. I think there's so many companies out there, whether it's a couple person enterprise all the way to a multi-thousand person enterprise out there. I don't think they get leadership development. Much like when you go to college, when they teach you business classes, both of our boys went to business school. They don't really get business coaching. I mean, they get taught the nuts and bolts of business and the fundamentals of business on paper.
Yeah.
They don't really get taught how to be a leader, in a business. And so I think that there's a void in the world for us to go out there. And I know one of your goals with Think Great is to be a global leadership development company.
Yes.
And I want to develop leaders and be part of that. And so, through our talks, it's been inspiring, and I've been like, I can do that. If Erik can be there to help me out and kind of, coach me along.
That's right.
Get me on the stage. I can do this. I'll overcome my fear. And, I'm generally, I say I'm an introvert extrovert, right? I'm super happy being introverted and sitting in an office and getting really I do like to talk to people, but I also, probably like the introversion side more. I'd say more like 70-30 or 65-35.
Yeah.
But I know that, that I have a very inspiring story when you.
Yeah, you do.
And I know that I've also had a lot of success, and people want to hear about that. And if I can help other leaders become better leaders and develop their people into better leaders, it's just going to make the world a better place.
I'm excited for us to start our world tour, Luke. I think it's going to be phenomenal. You know, for me, one of the greatest feelings that I get is coming off the stage and somebody coming up and saying, I needed that. And maybe they related to the military side. Maybe they related to me being a caregiver for my wife, or just even being a business coach, or starting off entry level and working my way up to vice president of a media company. And when you hear that you made an impact, it's all worth it. And I think your comfort zone will be the stage pretty quickly, because you do have a powerful story. Even hearing you share it, just in its raw form, you know, we haven't formulated it all, and the presentation yet. It's so moving, it's so impactful, and I'm excited to share the stage with you all over the world and make that impact, because I think that the pandemic caused a lot of people to stop thriving, and just they got into that surviving mode. And I really feel, I'm a firm believer right now that we got to get people kicking in that dream machine again, like you were talking about. We need more dreamers and people who can show them how to be driven to win, turn those dreams into reality. So I'm feeling it out there, and you probably are too, that people are hungry for this right now.
Yeah, I mean, just think of, and all the number of people that come into our restaurants and tell me it's the first time they've eaten in a restaurant in 2 years. And I'm like, wow, how could you, and not picking on them, but folks put their whole life on hold for 2 years. And and some of us did it for shorter periods of time than that. But I'm with you. I think that we're at a really ripe opportunity. There's still some chaos going on in the world, right? We've got some chaos in Europe that's very scary.
Yeah.
But we also still have to keep living. And even through the midst of all the chaos, we still have to have dreams, and we still need to have that vision and pushing ourselves to go to that next level. And I'm hoping that that's one of the outcomes that you and I will have, is that we'll have an impact, and we'll get people to just take that next step, whether from, it can be just from getting to the gym today to starting a company, to growing their company from 1 unit to 100 units. Who knows? Hopefully we can help lead them along the way.
Well, there's never been a time like right now for visionary leadership. I mean, just teaching people how to win, how to have victories. And that's what we're going to be doing on stage March 31st. You're going to be teaching people how to win. I'm going to teach people how to have victories. You're creating these raving drivers for success, and I'm going to be teaching people how to unleash that business warrior. So this is what I find most fun in what I do, is just unleashing things in people that were already there. It's not that we're creating someone new. That person already has those skills, and that's what gets me the most fired up. And I do know that we're going to make a huge impact. So this is just the beginning of us having a global dynamic wave of thinking, which I'm very excited about. And then there's no time like right now. So
just think of everyone that leaves that day. If they could just define one win, like what is a win for them, and define one little win. Like I said, it could be just making it to the gym for a week. It could, there's so many wins, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the message on March 31st to be, define your win. What does that mean? Or, get your team together. What's the team have defined as a win? And then celebrate that, and then take that win and build on it, and go to the next win, and go to the next win. And there again, we raced 37 weeks out of the year. We knew we couldn't win all 37, right? It's impossible. You just couldn't win all 37 races.
Right.
I think the most we won in 1 year was 5. Other folks, Jeff Gordon and Jimmy Johnson, a few people won 10. That was astronomical.
Yeah.
5 is the most I've ever had the joys of winning in one season, right? But throughout those other 32 races, we were probably in the top 10 the majority of the time.
Sure.
We won the championship, so we pretty much had to be in the top 7 all the time. So we were right there, knocking on the doorstep. And
That's
I
right.
think so. You got to define those wins, and then just keep going after it, and celebrate those victories. And as you said, it ends up becoming a marathon rather than a sprint too. You just have to keep marathoning and culminating all those wins. Great racers, if you think of them, have all these checkered flags on their walls from a number of years, and that's kind of how I look at business, right? It's just a myriad of checkered flags on the wall. Over time, you get these little wins, and you didn't win every day, you didn't win every week, but you won often enough to where at the end of it, you assemble them all, and you're a champion.
I mean, that's just, it's so profound because you don't need to win everything. You just need to win enough to get to the victory lap, you know, to become that champion. And that's what's exciting. I think too many people get caught up on perfecting it instead of just making progress. That holds them back. Well, we're gonna teach them how to unleash, how to drive, how to win, how to have victories. And we're just getting started. If people want to find out more about Red Cow, Red Rabbit, where's the best place for them to go to?
Well, we have two websites, redcowmn.com and redrabbitmn.com. Those are where you can see the menus and learn a little bit about us, see some of the pictures of our food. You could also check out our Facebook and Instagram sites. You can see pictures of our food, and hopefully there's some reels on there that will entice you to come in, and if you when you're ready, we're ready for you to come in.
I just made reservations for 6 for a couple weeks from now for Red Cow St. Paul. So we're heading back in, and we're excited about it. And people will be able to find out some more information about you and your speaking on our website at thinkgreat90.com. So we're going to be putting up more about your presentation, my presentation, and how we're going to have that 1-2 punch around the world and help people to have some more wins and victories in their lives and their businesses. You know, Luke, I appreciate working with you. I appreciate the friendship that we have and the fact that I can bounce ideas off of you and share some of the direction that we're heading in is really invaluable to me. So thanks again for being on the show, but also just thanks for being there for me as a visionary leader that I can share my ideas with.
Well, I appreciate it, and your friendship is invaluable. And it's one of those, like I said, we had breakfast on Saturday morning, and I just left there, just fired up, ready to go for the day. Grace and I were both fired up. We had only needed a couple cups of coffee and a breakfast with Erik, and you're on fire and ready. And I think that's part of the attraction that I've had and the synergies that we've had since we met. Your energy is infectious, and your insights are infectious. And what I love about leadership too is it's not rocket science, right? It's a lot of simplistic thought processes, but yet it's also a lot of work, and we use that word intentional, right? So we have to be intentional on how we think, what we say. That influence is so important as a leader, and everyone's looking at us. So I've learned so much over the last 5-6 years working with you, and I look forward to another, many decades ahead of us working together and also growing Think Great and sharing this message, because I think it's a message that not enough people hear, and once they hear it and they understand the importance of leadership, it'll I think we get stuck on managing, right? We get stuck trying to be a manager, and they forget that management's just task management. Exactly what it is. It's managing tasks, but leadership is people. Leadership is vision. Leadership is growth and opportunity. I don't think you can ever put task management behind growth and opportunity. Well, I got a lot of growth for you if you manage your tasks.
That's right. And what I love right now, I love that when a leader starts speaking leadership, it just starts flowing out. And that's what attracts people to it. It's so many people have been exposed to just manage the stuff, but they've never been taught how to lead people. And your embracement of leadership is contagious. And that's what's exciting, that we're going to get on stage. This is the beginning, the stepping stone, if you will, of global impact.
I agree. I can't wait. I'm excited. I just got to finish this presentation with you over the next couple weeks, and we'll be ready.
We're going to be ready to rock and roll. Well, thanks, Luke. Always good to see you, and appreciate you being on the show today.
Thank you. Take care.